Well, hello, everybody. It's Brother Todd with your Victory Minute. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I was walking around out here, was going to make the Victory Minute outside, and wind's blowing so hard. You can't hear nothing but the wind blowing the microphone, and the office is so busy right now. They're all in there working, making racket. And I thought, well, I just come out here and sit in the truck. My mom told me the other day, I picked her up, my grandmother's in the hospital, and I picked her up from the rehab hospital, and she said, whatever you do, please don't let anybody ever see the inside of your truck. And my truck is kind of legendary for being a mess. Usually, I'm about the only one that can fit in it, but if you kind of look at the back seat, you kind of get a light idea. Somebody goes, Brother Todd, that ain't bad. I'll tell you the truth, that's the best it's been in a few years. I can actually see the floorboard. You say, Brother Todd, why don't you tell me about your old dirty truck? I don't know. I guess it's just I've always been so rebellious. If my mama tells me to do something, I tend to want to do the other. So I guess that's what I'm doing right now. This contraptions are kind of all messed up today. We'll see what she does. But anyhow, the talking about Mama, and that's what I call my grandma, if those of y'all that we had never got to meet. And yes, even somebody as old as me has got a living grandmother. And she's 93, and she is a good woman. She's the hardest working human being I ever known in my life. And the steadiest worshiping woman you ever met. Quiet as a church mouse, but boy, she is going to make her presence felt and known. Woman can say more in prayer in 3 words than I can say in 3 hours. But anyway, she's really the reason I wanted to give you this Victory Minute today, or my topic, so to speak, is right now, as a matter of fact, she's in surgery. She's having a cardiac procedure done. We don't know what's going to happen. And I thought about maybe it'd be beneficial to talk to some of y'all that, like with this COVID-19 thing, we don't know how things are going to turn out, whether you're dealing with, issues in life, you don't know what's going on with them. How do you just walk in peace when you're in the middle ground between something hadn't happened yet to the point that something has happened? When you got an issue in life that ain't happened yet, well, the reality is we are oblivious to it, right? If there's going to be a death today, if somebody's close to me, right now I don't know it. I don't need peace for it because I'm not there. And then if it happens, or, sometime, something will happen and then let's say something bad happens even. Not all things work good. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it sun shines, and it don't always go easy in life. But once something has happened, well, then you can deal with it, and you can deal with it as it is, But there's that middle ground. Years ago, I was in the hospital. We was praying with, I wasn't in the hospital, I was visiting somebody there, and we was praying with somebody that was about to go into surgery, and it was a serious deal, very life-threatening. And our staff evangelist at the time was pastoring Cornerstone Baptist Church up in Lucas, Brother Jim Everidge. And Brother Jim said something in that prayer. It's always stuck with me, and I've used it ever since. But we were praying, and when he got time to pray, he said, Lord, remove that old uneasy feeling from us. And it's always stuck how he said that. Lord, take away that old uneasy feeling, that weird sensation of we don't know what's going to happen. And because we don't know what's going to happen, it almost has the ability to overwhelm us. And of course, what that is it's worry. And I'm going to use an old-timey word here. It's a word I want to talk to you about today. And the word is fretting. It's that we're in a state of fret. And you read that old word a lot in the old King James translation. Probably used it 8, 9 times, 7, 8, 9 times. Don't quote me on it. I can't remember exactly. But it's kind of used all through there. And then primarily in one chapter of the Bible. That chapter is Psalms 37. And then when they, like I use a New King James. Some people ask me all the time, Brother Todd, what kind of translation do you use? I like a New King James. I'm not going to, you want to find out why I like that, we'll talk about it another time. But anyhow, the New King James, the only place it uses the word fret is in Psalms 37. And to tell you the truth, I think the only reason the translators used it there was because Psalms 37 was so well known as the do not fret psalm. Okay. And nowadays we say the word fret and we think about the word worry. Don't worry. And you say, well, Brother Todd, they could use that same word. Well, you can, you can't. The word fret doesn't really mean don't worry. In fact, if you read the older, like the King James or older use in the English language, you see that what it literally means is to burn, to be consumed, like a fire consumes things. That's what the word means. So you can actually, it's not just worry. You can fret in anger. Okay, anger can consume you. Anything that takes you down the road outside of God's perfect peace and will for your life and power in your life, you can fret, and it's just become to basically mean worrying. But the reality is, and it's a good use of it. But you say, Brother Todd, why are you telling me all that? I'm telling you all that because sometimes when you're living in between a thing, between something, after something happens, and you don't know how it's going to come out, there's that time in there where it's like when you pray and God doesn't give you an immediate answer. Well, now you're waiting. And to quote Jim again, waiting is good training. And what you do in that time is whether or not you're going to really live in peace. It's whether or not you're really going to live in power. I started out in life. I grew up in a machine shop, an engine machine shop. And then I become a fireman. I kind of did both of them. And worked on my days off in the machine shop and was a fireman other days. And so I had a really good lieutenant. He's in heaven now. Thank God he got saved. His name's Chuck Dennis, Charles Dennis. Great fireman. He could just, he'd go up on fire and he could see everything. He was hardworking. He was fearless. And I really enjoyed my time with him. But anyway, he's been passed on a good while now. But anyhow, Chuck could see everything. And I was young, and, I'd get what they call tunnel vision, and we'd get in that emergency, and I would get so amped up emotionally, almost like in a rage. It was like, I tell people when I played football, and I wasn't much of a football player, but I played it mad. I was always just right off the edge of rage. Worst thing I had in sports was I'd let my emotions get so wound up in me. Well, that same tendency goes on in life. I do the same thing at fire. Chuck's telling me all the time, boy, you got to learn to calm down. You got to be able to do what you need to do in the moment. Well, the reality is, I'm telling you those stories because really living in peace and power, it's in that same moment. It's what you do in that I don't know time really dictates whether or not you're going to live in peace or anxiety, okay? So think about that word fret, to not let it consume you. There is all the difference in the world between being concerned and being consumed, okay? You can be concerned and be at peace, okay? You're still dealing with a situation. A duck floating around on top of the water, he looks like he's just sitting there doing nothing, but underneath the water, he's going crazy, right? He's moving, he's doing things, okay? But it's not just got him in just a throw-down panic. And that's what I believe the Lord's talking to us about when he tells us, do not fret. Don't let the situation consume you, okay? Whether it's Mamaw being in surgery or things going on, and I feel anxious. Well, the truth is, I can't do anything. I hadn't liked that old woman being up there in that hospital by herself, not being able to go visit her, not being able to see us out the window. She's 4 stories up. We got to the window at one hospital, but I can't climb 4 stories. So, I ain't got no Spider-Man in me. So the truth is as we had her in a position where the best thing could happen for her was being done, it was completely and totally out of our hands. Well, when you go to feeling overwhelmed by that, well, I can't do anything about that physically. So I have to go to the Lord. I have to pray. If you can do something about a situation, do it. If you can't do anything about a situation, you got to pray about it. Because if not, you'll fret. Okay, you can fret about things that you can do something about. What are you fretting about? Get to doing it. Don't let that anxiety burn you up. The other side of that is, if I can't do anything at all, I have to talk to my God, who definitely is in charge of it. And he's a sovereign God, so nothing's going to happen that he's either not going to allow. And if God allows something to come into my life, okay? Even if it ain't an easy thing, you know, even if it's a result of something bad, those kinds of things, and God allows it, because it ain't the, you know, the devil might pull it off, but the devil ain't the one he got to get an okay before he can touch anything in our lives, okay? If God allows it, then God already has the provision we need to go through it. And you say, well, Brother Todd, that's easy to say and hard to do. I ain't saying trusting God's easy all the time. I'm just saying if you're going to live in peace, that's a decision you got to make. And that's the next word I want to talk to you about. If you are not going to fret and be overwhelmed, you are going to make a conscious mental decision, hear me, to believe God. I have spent a ministry, most of that ministry, trying to just about pull people by every means necessary into a point where it's almost like, if you won't believe God, I'll believe God for you. But you know, the truth is, you either going to believe the Lord or you ain't. Some of y'all hearing these things, you're going to accept Jesus or you ain't. Most people reject him anyhow. You're going to walk in peace or you're not. But I got news for you. It's going to be a decision you make. If you know the Lord at all and God's given you his peace and willing to give it to you, then you've got to make the choice to believe. And there is a tremendous amount of peace that just comes in doing the best you can, and then and feeling led by God, do the best you can, and then knowing that it is in the Lord's hands. I had a stepdaddy's good man. His name's Bill Norton, and Bill was sick and he got leukemia. And they was telling him all this and that, and he this treatment and that treatment. And one day he had kind of said, well, I'm going to do this and that. It was almost like he was at a dead piece, and he wasn't going to do this about it and that. And I talked to him, and I said, well, brother, you don't know how this is going to work out. And he goes, oh no, Todd. He said, Lord done revealed to me this is how I'm going to walk into the valley of the shadow of death. And I mean, it was that real. He said, oh, Brother Todd, that don't happen. Well, I got news for you. I've seen it more than once. Anyhow. And he said this, it's always stuck with me. And he passed away not long after. He said, and Todd, it's more peaceful in the valley than you'd think. It's more peaceful in the valley than you'd think. He had come to a point where he was just he had grown more in prayer in that year than any man I'd ever seen. And he had come to the point that whatever God's will was, he had the same peace. And I tell you, I almost liken it to the same type of peace and joy that Jesus had when he left Gethsemane. He said, Brother Todd, how do you know he was at joy? Well, the Bible says, who for the joy set before him endured the cross. So he, of course, in his human desire, he wanted that cup to be passed. But when he realized what God's will was, he was willing in all joy to walk it. And I seen old Bill just absolutely walk right in the middle of that same kind of peace that my grandmother has, who of course I call Mama, is walking in right now. And thank God, it's the same kind of peace I got sitting here in this old pickup truck, kicked back, talking to you. When we don't know, we do know who does know. And we do know he loves us. And he is going to work things together for good. Now, I don't know what I'm going to tell you tomorrow in this Victory Minute. It's a 93-year-old woman. I don't know what's going to happen with her. I don't know what's going to happen. My wife's driving the Ennis right now. I don't know if she's going to get back safe or not. The reality is, these things are in the hands of God. He is big enough. He loves us, and he will carry us. Whether it's through COVID-19 or the little situations that come along in life, our financial anxieties and our relationships. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a great God that has a lot of peace, and he pours it out. And I pray today that you'll walk in it. He said, Brother Todd, you've been rambling this whole time. Make a decision to not be consumed. Make a decision to believe Jesus, and let that be the end of it. I love you. I pray that God will give you a great day today. Let these things wander about in your head, and I'll tell you, and in your heart. And I'd get over in Psalms 37 if any of this has touched you, and study through there and see how God will walk you through in peace and power. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.